Oh my gosh, you guys are not going to believe this, but we have a dead white lady. This is Lynn Margulis, and she was responsible for coming up with the theory of endosymbiosis, which is an event that took place 2.2 billion years ago, which led to the first eukaryote. So, classic story of scientists. She came out with research evidence supporting this idea that 2.2 billion years ago, some Joe prokaryote was floating around in, here's the image of what she proposed. Prokaryote 1, I'm trying to name that prokaryote number 1. And this is prokaryote number 2. Prokaryote number 2 came along and is like, hey, Joe prokaryote, I am going to endocytose you. And probably prokaryote 1, Joe, was like, oh crap, I'm about to become Fred's dinner. But Fred was like, maybe I'll just leave Joe in here and I'll feed him and maybe he'll produce some sugars or some resources that are beneficial to me. And it worked. So one bacteria literally engulfed another bacteria and then kept that bacteria alive inside of him. And now we have membrane-bound organelles inside of a prokaryotic cell. If you think about what is this? What is this organelle that lives inside of another cell? Well, there's 2 of them. Mitochondria, and remember, and the other one is chloroplast. Chloroplast. Remember when we studied the organelles of a cell and we said, keep track of this because mitochondria have their own DNA and so do chloroplasts. They have their own DNA and there are populations of bacteria. They're called, I want to say cyanobacteria. I think that's what the chloroplasts are related to, cyanobacteria. And the mitochondria are related to, come on, Wendy Riggs. Oh, I didn't write it down. Oh, alpha proteobacteria. There's like a clan of bacteria that are totally similar. They share similar genetics. They share similar metabolism as our mitochondria. And for plants, there's these cyanobacteria, a group of bacteria that are super similar, share genetics with chloroplasts. Of course, they said, Lynn, you're nuts. No. But then eventually they accepted it. And because of, massive lines of evidence that support this idea. 2.2 billion years ago that we had this ingesting event that took place. This is a prelude to how things work together. And we'll talk about that in the next lecture when we look at fungi. Fungi are really good at symbiosis, relationships with other critters, and beneficial relationships and maybe not so beneficial relationships, but we'll talk about those in the next lecture. This, for a while, was just like, hey, the inside bacteria is getting protection and the outside bacteria is getting some food. This is like a win-win situation. Like we can make this last. And eventually we ended up with eukaryotes, cells that started as prokaryotes that ended with membrane-bound organelles, including a membrane-bound nucleus. All right, so let's talk. This is our launch. We are now launching into eukaryotes, and we'll talk about our single-celled eukaryotes next, the protists.